Welcome everyone to another weekly edition of our StaySmart newsletter and podcast, brought to you by Viciniti Corporate Housing, where we try to keep you updated on what we see happening in the industry, anything that we think might be relevant to you and to your company. Coming to you from our Kansas City office today, some really good information. We broke into different categories. The first one is general industry news, a couple articles. One is about the housing market, the predictions for the rest of 2024. I think this is really relevant because as we see the Fed looking to do some rate reductions possibly in September, it's looking more and more likely. I think this article talks about that, but just in general, some predictions for the rest of 2024. And then an article about the Biden administration trying to, a policy to control rent. They're looking to cap rent increases at 5%. This apparently only applies to landlords with over 50 units. Some other stipulations about new properties. This would only affect about half of the rental industry in the U.S. Some good information, kind of pros and cons of this. In general, I kind of agree with the cons. I don't think this is a great idea. I think this is, there's definitely an affordability issue in housing and the rental markets. I don't think this is the approach to go at it. I think the solution is more inventory, and I think this is only going to, not increase developers wanting to propose new inventory if they're going to be rent increases or capping their potential for income, for future income. So I don't think this is the right approach, but I think it's good information as, rent increases have really had a big impact on inflation over the last 3 or 4 years. So it is a valid issue. I just think this is the wrong approach. In business travel, a couple good articles. The first one comes from Marriott. They announced their new business access by Marriott Bonvoy. This is a travel software that Marriott is offering to small and medium-sized companies. Really good information. If you're kind of a small company and you want to have access to a lot of resources, they're offering being able to book travel, not just with hotels, but flights and rental cars and things like that. So good information from Marriott. And then obviously flight cancellations. There's a good article about how that has impacted travel, business travel, just travel in general. Delta Airlines in particular has, as of Monday, has almost 5,000 flight cancellations from this software glitch, CrowdStrike, their software update with Microsoft last week. A lot of industries were affected, but airlines in particular, a couple airlines, like I said, Delta and a couple others were really impacted by it, but then some not so much. So I don't know if Southwest Airlines is running Windows 95, but apparently they weren't as impacted as Delta Airlines. So interesting information about how that software update affected the airline industry. And then in the short-term rental space, a couple articles about bans or regulations. There's an article about Barcelona looking to do a ban across all short-term rentals by 2029 in Barcelona, to ban all short-term rentals by 2029. I think that's an interesting approach. Obviously, they say they're trying to address the housing crisis and rising rents. Again, I think this is an interesting approach. I don't think it's the right approach to address rising rent increases. Again, I think it's back to about an inventory issue, but interesting approach by Barcelona. Then another article about in Florida, Governor DeSantis had vetoed a short-term vacation rental bill that was looking to this one was more about state control versus local control, being able to set those regulations either at their local level, at their state level. So interesting approach out of Florida. And then finally, in kind of corporate housing and hospitality news, there's Wyndham announced a couple partnerships recently. The first one was with Reside. Reside is a corporate housing company. They announced this partnership with Wyndham. They're going to be able to offer their corporate housing inventory through Wyndham's distribution channels, whether that's short-term or long-term stays. And then also they had, Wyndham recently announced a partnership with Waterwalk Hotels, kind of an apart hotel brand. So interesting to see a couple of kind of corporate housing, long-term rental partnerships with Wyndham. And then Wyndham had also, in another article, talked about opening their first Echo brand. Echo is their one of their extended stay hotel brands. They announced this in South Carolina. Also, what's interesting in this is that they announced that Mandeep Singh is the Vice President of Extended Stay Operations with Wyndham. Mandeep had, at one time was with Oakwood, had spent some time in the corporate housing world. So a lot of interesting articles around corporate housing, extended stay, hospitality, all kind of coming together in the industry. So I think those are really fascinating articles to read. Just some articles that we saw this week that we thought would be interesting for you. If there's anything that you'd like to hear us talk about, please let us know. If you haven't subscribed to our newsletter or podcast yet, go ahead and do that. But that's what I see transitioning this week. Take care, everyone.